our special guest, but also to each of you in your art. I'm always amazed at the creative energy that's present in our Baba community. Um, very intrigued with that. And our special opportunity on the first Tuesday of each month is to invite an artist, a visual artist, and that can be, as you were saying, Diana, a fiber artist, or it can be someone who paints, it can be an architect, it can be someone who combines musical and art. We are not about defining what art is, it's more for people to talk about what their process is and the significance of it to them and how it manifests in their art. Marla is our special artist this month, and I'm going to offer to you her biography that she sent. She said she grew up in Chicago and then went to Bard College and Kansas City Art Institute before receiving her BFA in painting from the School of the Art Institute of Chicago and her MS in museum leadership from Bank Street College in New York City. She's directed art education programs at the Art Institute of Chicago, the Guggenheim Museum, Storm King Art Center in Mountainville, New York, and Checkwood in Nashville. She's loved teaching art in public and private schools since moving from New York to Nashville in 1990. In Nashville, she's had one person exhibits at the Parthenon, the airport, and Williamson County Enrichment Center, several two-person exhibits, and been included in many juried and invitational exhibits throughout the states. In 2017, Sherry Art Press published her book of art and poetry called Listening to the Bones. I love that title. In 2020, I said that, not Marla. In 2020, Own Point Press published her book, The Diver and the Pearl, and recently, under her own label, Ladders of Light Studio Press, she published Art of the Divine, Buddhist, Hindu, and Earth Gods and Goddesses, which contains her art and poetry on these subjects. Each book contains 50 original artworks, which are not duplicated in the other books. To see her whole oeuvre, visit marlafaith.com. The books are available from Sherry R. Books, Barnes & Noble, and Amazon. And now Marla will share with us her process and how it came to be and how it evolves.
Thank you. So I've prepared a little slideshow. I was thinking about, I've always made art since I was little, and um, it's always been a psychological mirror for me and a spiritual path as well as skill building. But it's always a way of I've saved a ton of money on not going to a therapist because my art has been my therapy. So I'm going to share my screen and go to this little slideshow I've presented. Okay.
Marla, are you
Yes,
recording? Just want to make
I
sure.
am. Yes, I
Okay.
am.
Right.
So this is just a little collage of Mayor Baba with pins. But what I realized is that I guess it was maybe 4 years ago, I made this scroll book that I'm going to show you as I read to you, like a Torah scroll, the way it opens up, and just it was sort of a little life story of how I started and how I got to where I am. So it's rather quick, but I'll read it to you while I show you the pictures of it. It's not a great piece of art at all, but it contains my journey. So, sitting on my grandfather's knee, reading the holy book, I looked at the colorful pictures as his finger slowly underlined the Hebrew words. That's where it all began, my love of stories and images with spiritual meaning. My grandma had a shimmering family tree, and I was at its center where photos hung like silver coins upon small bronze branches. It sat upon her bedroom dresser. I whirled about in the energy that moves mountains. We are made of color and light, bright and beautiful. Yellow, the brilliant, powerful color of the third chakra, the color of my childhood room, and the gentle butterflies in our yard. The second chakra is orange. Coral was the color of my grandmother's lipstick, which her lips sculpted into a thinning onion-shaped dome. It was the color of her arms around me. And by the way, at any point, if you want to put questions out in the chat room, and I'll pick them up later if something comes to you. So we should have lots of time for questions and answers and conversation. The root chakra is red, the bright blood color of my mother's lips and her bedroom and her temper. The fifth throat chakra is blue, the light color of my grandfather's eyes and his peaceful blue spirit. We played golf on his living room floor, putted the ball into a little juice cup. Green is the heart fourth chakra, the spring green of my fluttering, pure child spirit. Silver was the color of my Aunt Zelda, who made art with me, made sequin sweaters, showed me her beads. Those were the colors that shaped my life. Indigo and violet, I would find those the sixth and seventh chakra colors later. On the beach, I was 15. I met a man named Cloud. He may have been my guardian angel. I said I was 16 in my skirt made of silk scarves that I'd sewn myself, wearing a red leotard on top. He took away my Santra book that I was reading and handed me a book called The Knee of Listening. He brought me out of the waters of the unconscious. I read Hesse, Ram Dass, and obscure spiritual books. I let my emotions out through making surrealist paintings and huge Georgia O'Keeffe-inspired abstracts. I no longer wanted to be a mermaid who was waiting to be rescued by an Arabian night on a flying carpet, which was the first image of my painting when I was 15. In college, I looked for auras. I found a man who resembled the one I painted. He led me to the true Arabian night that I sought, Meher Baba. No longer on this physical plane, but he pulled my heart like a magnet. The waves of his love washed over me. I found my iridescence. I haven't been the same since. I haven't been the same since. Holy places are everywhere. They are in your heart. The world of colors shouted to me. Van Gogh, Gauguin, Kahlo, Chagall, Kandinsky, Bonnard, they all cradled and fed me light. I discovered the art of the Inuit, Pahari miniature painting from India, Mexican muralists, Jungian storytellers, spirit animals of deer, bear, swan, and owl, Hokusai and Hiroshige, Rumi and Hafez, Tibetan sand mandalas, Kuan Yin, Milarepa, Hanuman, Sufi stories and Hasidic tales, expressive dance, the beauty of trees. I drank it all in, the silkiness of existence. I become that which you already are. The meditation cushion became home. All my goals were inner goals, how to be kinder and listen deeper. My prayers were to remove the veils that kept me from the source. My desire became to please the divine more and more. This was the sea I wanted to disappear into, to become a bell of awakening. I had found my flying carpet. He said, the book I will have you read is the book of the heart. He told me to see with my heart, that is where the third eye resides. The temple is within each of us. I wanted to give some of this love, and so I began to teach, believing that when I touch others, I am touching this divine invisible. helping them to find their own rainbow goddesses. Who watches over this green earth, guiding us night and day? How can I find you when you are already here? There is nowhere where you are not. So that was my journey to myself, my explanation of like what started this whole artistic voyage for me. It was really my Aunt Zelda drawing on napkins when I was little. And I didn't really discover like real art till I was in high school. And Georgia O'Keeffe was my teacher. I never met her, but my art teacher in high school in Chicago turned me on to O'Keeffe. And so I made really large abstract paintings of orchids or dried flowers and cow skulls and driftwood, but also a lot of surrealist influenced dramas as well. And so I thought I would just show you a few of my influences here. These, I guess, Marc Chagall and Paul Gauguin, their color, their whimsy, their lushness, their imagination. They were more when I got to college, I found out about them because really, I don't think I'd been taken to the Art Institute of Chicago until I was in high school. So it was the discovery then and in college. Frida Kahlo, I loved her symbolism, the way she could express her emotional and physical pain through images, and then the style in this Balinese ink painting and their way of shading. And then when I was at the Kansas City Art Institute, there was this Chinese wooden statue of Kuan Yin that I would go and sit with. And I also took an Asian art history course, and there was an exhibit at the Nelson Gallery then of Pahari miniatures, which are very small gouache paintings. And this is of the Ramayana, from the Ramayana. And so these were very influential. I sort of believe that everything you look at seeps into you and comes back out. Kandinsky was a huge influence. I couldn't find a really good image to share with you here. This is my earliest art that my mother got rid of everything, but for some reason she saved the one of me with the little fairies. I was probably maybe first grade, I'm guessing. And then up here is a family portrait. I fell
Marla,
into a hole. Help.
Marla,
Yes?
I hate to, what's the word? Disrupt you.
Yes,
Or
sure.
pause you, but I think we need to spotlight your presentation.
It's not being spotlighted?
No, that was not done.
Oh,
So
because I'm sharing my screen. So why
you're
would it not
sharing
be?
screen, but the yellow is on the speaker, which would be you, and the
Oh,
yellow
no.
indicates what's being recorded. So
If you pin Marla, you can, I get the screen big.
Okay. So I guess I'll stop share for a minute, right? Should I stop share to do it?
yeah,
Stop share.
and
How
then
strange is that?
yeah, I'm so sorry. I should have thought of that, but
Okay. So now, but I can't pin until I share the screen,
No,
right?
we all pin you.
Oh,
If we pin Marla, there's a little 3 dots if you're working on a computer where you can pin.
yeah, up in the right-hand corner,
And
there's
so
those three dots.
I had her pinned, and
So
so
you were seeing it
therefore
large,
I'm
Liz?
seeing the screen, yeah.
you
Okay.
were seeing it. Everyone was seeing it large, so that
I was seeing it large too.
Yeah.
okay. I'm just hoping that that's how it's being recorded. Okay.
Okay, well, let's see. So back to my early art. This is my family. I have a girl stuck on my head. I will eat you. That was my brother. Here's my mother. I am the mother and my tail will kill you. She was a Scorpio. Here's my father. I'm father and goodbye. He left a lot. So that's all I have from my early years. And then we jump from there. As you see, it's like, I mean, I was really fortunate to have this outlet to be able to express in images my feelings. Oops. Oh, I'm sorry. I've got to put it in play zone. There we go. Okay. So these are sketchbooks from when I was a sophomore in college. I'm like 15, 16. And I would work from my dreams. This was a skeleton unzipping his clothes, his skin. It was from a dream I had. And then I would transfer this larger onto a canvas. And I no longer have any of the real art or photos of them, but I do have these old sketchbooks. And the one on the right was a driftwood and a cow skull. And then I would redo it in acrylic painting on a 6-foot tall canvas that I had built myself. And I did a lot of these through high school. And we jumped to college. This was a silkscreen print called Giver of Fish. And it was a sort of a theme that stayed with me for a long time, this Mother Earth and abundance theme. And then out of college, I was always doing both work that was improving my skill, this colored pencil drawing of a goddess from an Indian temple. And then on the other side, it's called Knife Wings, a very large, like, I don't know, 3-foot by 2-foot drawing called Knife Wings of how I was feeling. So art has always been both to me. It's a way of increasing the eye to hand coordination, capturing what I see, developing skills, but also really needing it to fully express my inner state. So 30 years ago, I did this painting called The Diver and the Pearl. You can see some sort of abstract shapes of an upside down blue angel, a diving figure. And then just a few months ago, I published this book, or Ohm Point Press did, called The Diver and the Pearl, that has Meher Baba's story of the diver and the pearl, along with my illustrations, some illustrations by other artists, and then more of my work about Meher Baba paintings and poems. And I always loved this story because well, I could tell the story, but I won't tell it now. We'll go there later if we want to go there. And then I came back to it again 10 years later, 20 years ago, and made this colored pencil version, which is in the book. And then these are these 6-foot tall paintings from a series called the Abundance Series from 2006 and 7. And I went around asking different Nashville women of different ethnicities and ages to pose for me with something from nature. So this is my daughter when she was in 4th grade, and her best friend who we brought with us to Meher Center. You can see Meher Baba's back in the boathouse because he said he never leaves there, with watermelon and giant lotuses. And this is my friend Tandiwe holding collard greens, and I gave her wings. And the idea, I think we had just started war with Iraq, and I was very upset about it. And I wanted to show the abundance of Mother Earth, that the feminine energy is all there was needed. And so I took a leave of absence from my art teaching job for a year. And I spent a year every day like it was my job, making 13 of these really big paintings to really just express the love and beauty, to sort of combat the hate and ugliness and fear that I saw everywhere. Here's 2 more from the series. People sometimes think that the one on the right is Kitty Davy, who's a Meher Baba lover who lived in Myrtle Beach. But it actually was a Native American 95-year-old woman named Neosho. I call this one Grandmother Corn, and she lived here in Nashville. And most of the pictures are outside, but because it was cold out, I brought the corn inside for her. And then the one on the left is a Chinese American woman who runs the Chinese Arts Alliance of Nashville, and her 2 daughters who had been my art students. And I brought them to my favorite place, Radnor Lake, and had apples, had them hold apples. This one is, I think it's called The Bright Future, or is this one's called On the Path, maybe? Anyway, and there's more of these, and they're all on my website, marlafaith.com, but I didn't want to put them all here. I wanted to just sort of give a little overview of finding my own style, finding my own reason for doing things, for making art. These are a couple of very small oil paintings of Meher Baba with a parrot I used to have, and Meher Baba with Mera. These are quite small. I wanted to just see if I could retain the same looseness I had in that painting in these ones. And these are in chalk pastel. And first I did the one with the wings. It's Meher Baba with a monkey and a mango. And I wasn't satisfied with it. So I tried it again and was much happier with the one with the turquoise background, the simpler one. But I often will do the same image several times in different mediums, or even the same medium, to get it right. And especially of Meher Baba, it's a real meditation to draw him and paint him. And for anyone who's interested, I offer Drawing the Beloved on Tuesdays from 2:30 to 4 through this same website. And we draw Baba from pictures and also from our imagination. So this is a large painting I did 3 years ago called Lamentation, but it's really an entombment scene. It's from a photograph from 1969 when Meher Baba was laid in the tomb in his samadhi to rest. And Meher Baba's sister, who I had met, Mani, in the orange, is standing there comforting Mera, his main female disciple, in the red. And Arnavaz stands on one side of her and Katie on another, and Dr. Goher behind. And then the person who is squatting is Rano Gailey, who was an artist who lived there. These were some of the women mandali in the tomb. And I still have that in my art shed, along with all of these living in the art shed. This I did of my niece, who was 16 at the time, and she was taking off her toe ring. And it just was so beautiful, the way the light was coming in on this carpet that had been in my mother's bedroom. And so I took a photograph of it, and I did this painting that I really liked a lot, and this oil painting of it. And what I've been doing I've been doing collages a long time. It's really my main medium. But these are two from the pandemic series, and probably there's like 50 on there during when the pandemic started. They're not too big, about 12 by 12 inches or so. And the first one's about Saint Corona, the coronavirus. She really was a saint. And the second one is about Shiva, but they're all intuitive. I never know what I'm going to do when I start. I mean, I just start painting and then I just respond. And the whole idea is for me to get out of the way. And, I think Meher Baba said we're moving from the age of instinct to the age of intuition. So I feel like I'm pretty much in that intuitive place of what wants to go here, just gluing things, moving them, adding, working upside down, working sideways until it feels whole and complete. So these are two that were done during our drawing class this fall. The one in the chair is charcoal and Conti crayon, and then the other one is a small pencil. And none of them are ever perfect. It's a lot of erasing, way more erasing than anything else. And so I just keep going and moving and trying it again and trying it again. And he's very elusive. It's like, there he is, and oops, make one wrong move in that shape of that eye, and it's not him anymore. And so you bring it back again, and it's a constant hide and seek game. This I just finished 2 or 3 days ago. This is my latest oil painting. It's 30 by 30 inches, taken from a black and white photograph. So all the colors are, made up, not really thought about, just instinctual or intuitive of Meher Baba drumming. And then these are my other two books. The top one I had published by Sherryar Press 3 years ago. It's Poems and Art. And then the bottom one is more poems and art that I just published a month or two ago. So that is where, if someone doesn't want to get one real painting or they can't make up their mind, each of these have a lot of art in them that aren't in either of the others. Of course, it's nicer to live with real art, in my opinion. And that is my slideshow. So I'm going to stop sharing, and thank you. And we can all ask questions, talk. I can bring up an image again if you want. Mary Ellen, are you monitoring this chat?
Yes, I
Okay,
was
cool.
just looking in there. And so what we can do is we'll take the questions as they come in the order, and then we can deviate from there if someone wants to offer an additional comment or ask an additional question. So if we start with the first question, it's, when did you do the scroll, and how old were you when you were doing that scroll?
Well, I only do that 4 years ago, so I was 59 when I did it, even though it seems like it's pretty immature. It was, I had taken a workshop for studio AP, Advanced Placement Studio Art Teachers, this workshop at the Art Institute of Chicago, because I was about to teach advanced placement studio art in a high school. And I had done a lot of AP art history I had taught, but I had never done the studio part of it. So I went for this workshop, and one of the things they told us was create a book. And they told us that Monday afternoon, and it had to be ready Friday morning. And I really wanted to do this idea of a scroll, but I couldn't get the supplies I needed in time. So I wound up doing another little book, like how to be a Sufi dancer, a little foldable book that's actually in my bookcase back there. But when I got home, I ordered a pair of like little kids rolling pins for making bread, and I used those in the scroll. And because I remembered, the Torah thing, going to temple with my grandfather, I really wanted this sort of scroll kind of thing. And I didn't plan it. I didn't know what was going to happen, where it was going to start, where it was going to end. So there it is, and that's in the cabinet too.
Thank you. And the next question from Fareshta is, did you take a photo of the women or did you paint them live?
I love to paint live, but it's really hard to get people to sit for that long. So I took about 50 photographs of them. And then I chose the one that I thought had the best expression and the best composition. And I did not grid it first. That last one I did, a Baba, I did that one in 7 days. And I did it because I gridded it and I got the proportion right. But if you don't make a grid on the photo and a grid on the canvas, it's like, oh my God, I've spent a week on this head and it's too big and I have to repaint the whole head, So with those paintings, I just wanted to be loose and start. So each one took about, 5 weeks or more. And anyway, I enlarged the photograph and I worked just from the photograph.
Okay. Was there really, this is also from Fareshta, was there really a saint named Corona, or is that a metaphor?
No, there was. I looked it up. And that's a picture of her. I found her in some, Gothic painting.
Wow. I wonder, and this is my own musing, I wonder how they have connected the coronavirus. Oh, I think that's a descriptor for those prongs that come up out of the cell. But what connection is there between, if any, between Saint Corona and the coronavirus?
I might have found out, but I've forgotten. I'll have to look it up again.
It's interesting. And I had a question, and where did the title of the book, Listening to the Bones, come from?
Well, I had a blood cancer called myelofibrosis, and I tried all kinds of alternative cures, and I couldn't find alternative one that worked. And so 3 years ago, just over 3 years ago, I had a bone marrow stem cell transplant where I had donor bone marrow stem cells put into me, and I had to go through a week of chemotherapy, and it's a very very dicey kind of operation. They don't cut into you, but the chances of survival and of ongoing illness are huge. And so I was trying to, so I published this right before then because I thought I might die. I wrote my will. I wrote my whole funeral service, and I wanted to get this book published to have something before I went if I was going to go. And so I would meditate and I would be like trying to listen to my bones, like what was bad in my blood, where was the bad blood coming from? And while I was going through the whole procedure, Meher Baba says, as most of you know who are here now, that I am the remedy and comfort for all ills. and I'm closer to you to your own breath, closer to you than your own breath. And so I was consciously breathing in his name through my bones the whole time I was receiving chemo, the whole time the stem cells were being dripped into me, and pretty much the whole recovery time, even during the really tough parts. So, so that it's like trying to listen to the deepest part, and really like seeing that as his blood coming into me and all through me. So that's, no one's asked me that before. That's the answer.
So, as a part of your artistic process, at what point, and I'm thinking of various of your drawings and paintings that you showed to us, at what point does the process move from an intuitive one to a conscious one? Does it? And how do you determine, or do you? So for instance, if you're painting a particular subject, say your daughter and her friend and the lotus blossoms, and there you were at Mayhair Center and Baba is in the background, what parts of that come to you and when?
Those ones aren't intuitive. If it's from
Okay.
a photograph, like all those women ones, I would say none of those are intuitive because I'm working from something I can see.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even think, I didn't really show you my pencil drawings, which is where all the intuitive stuff happens. But the collages, when I don't have something to look at, it's non-objective, there's no object, that's when it's intuitive. Or if it's a Baba, and I'm painting from a black and white photograph, the color is intuitive, but it's more only intuitive if it's in the imaginary or the abstract realm. Thanks for clarifying that.
At what point did you realize that? I mean, were you a child, a teenager? Are you only beginning to realize it now?
You mean that I'm an artist?
No, well,
Oh.
sure. Not only an artist, but that identifying your own process.
I think it was sort of an organic kind of thing. It probably started happening through childhood, but I do remember back when I was in kindergarten and the teacher going around saying, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And back then, there were only three answers that girls could say: a nurse, a mommy, a teacher. And I said, a famous artist. Which I let go of the fame part. I was like, no. I just want to make good art. I just want to get better. I mean, and that took a long time to get to that point of not really caring about the recognition, but about believing that being a vehicle to bring more beauty into the world was more important than what happened to the world. I mean, it'd be better if these could live on people's walls where they could like really breathe and be enjoyed, but it's just getting more positive energy into the world through my color and my art.
Mm. This is from Diana Goodhart. What is the difference in experience? What is the difference in experience between beginning a painting with an idea or purpose and beginning a painting with only your intuition?
I neglected to put abstract work on here, but the intuition one, it's easier. It's way easier to do it from a photograph, from a purpose, because you already know where you're going, But I remember being in school at the Kansas City Art Institute, and the guy next to me making these huge abstract canvases, and I had a white canvas, big white canvas, I mean 5 by 7 feet, and I said, well, how do you know how to start? And he said, well, you just respond, you just react to what's there. And I'm like, but there's nothing here. He said, well, just make a color and put it somewhere. So I made a color I liked and I put it somewhere. I was like, now what? And he said, well, now just respond to that. You know, it's like, what color wants to talk to it? Where does it want to go? And so that is a more, you really have to be in a place of trust and surrender and take it to a place where it's got this harmonious balance. And I mean, the more good art I've seen, I've worked in, you know, museums and gone to museums all over. So I really have an eye for good art. I know when something is balanced, you know, when it's strong, when it works, and so I'm not quite sure I'm even answering that. Did I answer it?
I think, I guess one of the follow-up thoughts or questions that I have in addition or tagging on to Diana's is, what do you consider to be the starting point of, excuse me, a piece of art for you? Does that come from something that comes from within you? Or is it triggered by something you see externally? Or is it, as you've been differentiating, when you're looking at a photograph and you want to paint it, or when you construct something from what you're seeing?
So, so working in collage, I just had a cup of yogi tea, and yogi tea on the tea bag has a little like fortune on it. And I took, and the fortune was something about love, and I pulled it off, and it was like, oh, okay, this is the start of my next collage. So I'll find one little bitty thing, and then I'll go through my collage stuff, and I'll just keep adding, gluing, painting, turning around. So it's usually one thing that starts it that way. If I'm, you know, like emotionally upset about something, I might just start doodling, and then I see what wants to come out, and I keep playing with it until I start seeing images. And I'm a narrative artist, so you know, and then I pull them and push them, and you know, just try to get them as authentic as I can to where they want to be. And so that's another way. And if anybody wants to pipe in and just speak up and say anything or ask anything, or if you want to see something again, I can, you know, go find it for you.
I'm going to pipe up. Is it okay for me to talk?
Please, yes.
So Marla, I've been on your website, and I looked and I looked and I looked and I looked, and there is so much there. How do you have time for other things besides painting and creating art? Because you have an enormous, you really have a great amount of work out there.
Yeah, and most everything there I've got here in my closets and in the shed. It's because I have a little house, it doesn't all fit. But yeah, I mean, I'm retired, I have nothing else to do. And even when I did teach, I mean, that's what I did on the weekends. I mean, my daughter is grown. She's an artist, Nila, NilaFaith.com. She's an amazing artist. So she's living in California, and I really have no responsibilities or obligations. It's pretty interesting. But again, even when I did, I always, it's, you know, it's like doing yoga, it's like meditating, it's just my practice. I think I get really unhappy when I don't make art.
Yeah.
So I'm prolific, I know.
I could see from your childhood drawings. I used to teach children ages like 2.5 to 5.5. And I would just notice that from, you know, children very young, all of their drawings and their markings on paper are very spontaneous and of themselves. And then at some point, you get the rainbows and the mommy and the daddy and the baby, you know, and it becomes what they've taken in. But I saw your 6-year-old pictures and they were all you. I didn't see the rainbow and the sunshine and the lights.
They could be there. She didn't save any of it. I wish I knew.
I'm sure you were always you. Yeah.
Well,
I'm also interested in your scrolls, Marla, because I have used that technique when I'm teaching graduate students, asking them to draw their story of their own leadership development. And initially, many of them will balk and, you know, I don't draw. How can you expect me to do that? And this is really an unfair assignment. I mean, it just goes on and on. And then pretty soon, and in fact, in teaching online, they record themselves and I'll hear their breathing and the intensity of their working. And what they come up with is remarkable to me. I think many adult students in particular have no awareness of their own creative process and haven't been asked to use that. I think children do. And, you know, those people who have the gift of teaching children see that beauty coming out in a child. It's so pure. But adults think they've lost that until they start peeling it away. And it's so intriguing to me because another place I've used it is when we are teaching the art of conversation and putting questions into art formats and drawing the questions without words. It's absolutely fascinating to me how that scrolling becomes almost a guided process for them, but their own self-guidance.
the other thing you could do is offer them different forms of doing a book. What I didn't mention, but when I was in that class at the Art Institute, there is a book gallery across the street of the Art Institute on Michigan Avenue. You have to go upstairs. It's run by the School of the Art Institute. But there are books like in pill bottles, where every pill you pull out is like a little tiny message, or just anything that gives a message can be a book. So our assignment, people had all kinds of crazy ways of doing a book. Mine is incredibly traditional and old-fashioned. It's not original at all. And so, but if they're not creative people, it's like you have to show them those samples where they won't know.
Isn't that interesting?
Gilda.
Could you say something about what it's like for you when you are painting or drawing Baba? Does that become more of a meditation for you than when you're drawing and painting other subjects?
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, because it's the whole point of doing it is to get him alive in there. You know how there's some Baba photographs you look at and he's in there, like looking back at you, you can hear him speaking to you, really. That's what I want to do in the paintings. So that one that I just finished, that recent one, I had to go back and work on the eyes more because I knew he wasn't all the way there. I didn't have the glint. And it's scary to go back in because it's like, oh no, if I do something to this side, then I'm going to have to go down and do something to the mouth, and then I'm going to change the whole expression, and then it's not, it gets scary. When I did that painting, I worked all around him before I did his face. I mean, it's just like to warm up. I'd spend like 2 hours on the background and then on the couch. And then I'd finally I'd get closer and closer. And finally the last 20 minutes, I'd do a little on the face and I'd run away, because it's a quiet meditation. And I can hear, I'm mixing like a light blue to put in the white of the eye. And I can hear, I want to say I can hear him saying, but it's like, it feels like that. It feels like I'm intuiting. It's like, it needs a pale yellow. That's what I want here. And so it's like, why are you being lazy? Go squeeze out some pale yellow, And so it's definitely a in tune conversation. I feel guided. I feel like I can't stop until he's pleased with it. Not just that I'm pleased, but that he's pleased.
Hmm.
Whereas that other painting of my niece laying down, I don't care if, who else is pleased with it. That one was for me. I knew it was a good painting and it was time to stop.
Hmm.
Of course, if you do something if you get a commission and you're doing a painting for someone who gives you a photograph and says, paint my family, then you have to please them. Then they come back like, oh, can you like make the wrinkles less? Can you make the eyes open more? And it's like, it's not necessarily a good painting anymore, because then it becomes more of a product.
Hmm.
Whereas all those
Yeah.
women I did, those 13 paintings of the women, I mean, I offered to sell them to all the women who posed for me at a discounted price from what I was selling them for, and nobody wanted them. And I think, one, because they're so big, you have to have a pretty big ego to have such a big painting of yourself. But also, maybe they didn't like the way they looked. Maybe they would have picked a different pose. We're all so vain, and the way that I see someone might not be the way they want themselves to be shown. So for me, it's about making a good, what I consider a good painting.
Yeah, I love those paintings of the women.
Thank you.
I just really, really want to see them in a big gallery all together so that they're all speaking to each other. And oh my gosh,
Jill's
I hope you can do that.
Yeah, well, I've done that. I mean, I'd love them to be like permanently at the United Nations or something. But when they were at the Parthenon here, we have a replica of the Parthenon in Nashville with a 44-foot gold plated, not plated, but whatever it's called, it's gold on it, statue of Athena in it. And that's on the top floor, but on the bottom floor underneath is this big gallery. There's a permanent collection around the edges, and then a big gallery right under Athena. So I had all of these like living goddesses going around in that gallery, holding her up. And then I also had these little still life paintings of my little statues of the Minoan snake goddess and the Madonna and Lakshmi and, everybody around there holding up like her pillar, basically. So it was very cool to me, to be in that place with this goddess. And those were there for 3 months. And that was like the #2 most visited place in Nashville when people come.
Anyone else have any other thoughts or questions or want to offer? What's your favorite medium, Marla, would you say?
I love oil paint, but collage is, with oil paint, I have to have a subject. It's way harder to just go in abstractly, and it's harder for me to find a subject I'm excited about. But collage I can always do if I've got, pieces and scraps around.
Now, when you were doing the scroll, that looked to me as if it was just color,
Yeah, no, it's just colored pencil. That's all it was.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, when you are doing your collages and there's so much texture and are they smaller? Are they larger pieces?
There's a couple that are larger, but most of them, I mean, there's one right here. I'm going to take off the wall. Yeah. Okay. So this is a sort of larger one. This has got a pencil drawing I did of Vishnu listening to the world. And then there's a Hanuman listening to the world. And then there's Vishnu sculpture. And then there's colored fabrics and other stuff put together, So it's that this is a larger one. But most of them are, they're maybe they are the size of the collage without the white around it. Put it back down here for now.
Anyone else?
I'd love to see all your artwork,
Come
Um,
over.
all of it.
Well, it's all, I mean, most of it is on the website, really. Most of it is there. There's probably 400 pieces on the website.
Oh, wow. Diana, you were serious.
I looked at everything. I mean, it really blew me
Thank you.
away. And then and the
Yeah.
amount of work you've done, Marla, during the pandemic, really, it looks like you did a piece a day. I mean,
I probably did, you know, like one piece would take a couple of days usually. And I was teaching then too. It was part-time, but I was Zoom teaching at a high school.
really a huge amount of work. Wow. Very, you know, I was connecting with a lot of them. You know, I could just see
Thank you.
what it was about.
And I've had many exhibits, probably half a dozen at in the Baba Center in the meeting place of my Baba work. Did a question, Mary Ellen, just
It
come through?
did. And this is from Bill. Do your collages have a set theme, or do you just try for an interesting visual effect?
To me, they're just visual poems, and sometimes, like, you know, that's how I put together. Here's my book. Sorry, I'm gonna get up and pull my book. Okay, so in this book, what I realized is that I had so much art that had Hindu and Buddhist and earth gods and goddesses in it. And a lot of them were in collage forms, some were in drawings, some were in paintings, but I don't really plan to do that. It's just what's influenced me, you know. I mean, I spent a year traveling in Asia back in 1983 to 84. And I went there because I love Buddhist and Hindu art and philosophy. And even though I didn't see a lot of, you know, Pari miniatures hanging around India, I did, I was just very influenced. So I'm really at home in that language, and also Jungian symbolism and my own personal symbolism. So it has to be, like, to me, visually interesting. But it also, there has to be sort of a story or a mystery or a little poetic something in there. I don't know if I'll be able to even show any of these holding them up. Yeah, I could have chosen so many others. I mean, the collage pages are so huge on my website that I had to divide that page into different sections, you know, like God and Goddess collages, abstract collages, animal collages, you know, to do that. Yeah, I don't think this is going to work. Here's something I didn't show you. And these are my small pencil drawings. So these are intuitive. These are like Mother Earth kind of drawings. They're about the same size as they are in here in the book, but I don't know what's going to happen. I just start drawing and have to not judge it and just trust. Here's another one where I took a huge piece, a 4 or 5 foot tall piece of green sheet paper, and I did this tree goddess one. Again, not knowing what was going to come out, but then once I saw what was coming, going with it, making it be where it wanted to be. I've done a lot with the corn goddess. There she is. Well, especially this one. You know, it was a drawing I did and I didn't like it, so I colored it, I collaged it, I added more to it. So there's a lot of imagination that one can be freer with the collages and the drawings. The paintings, I'm limited more to the photograph. So this is from that series. This is a woman and a deer in the forest. It's called Artemis. And then here's my drawing of a deer woman that I've put on a collage during the pandemic series. Mm-hmm. Just, you know, just a few more things, but I know it's about time for us to stop, isn't it?
No, we have a question from Gilda first.
Okay.
Oh, I didn't have a question, but I was just thinking that the reason I really want to see those collages in person is because that I want to have a better sense of the textures and the tactile sense of them, which in a photograph, you lose a lot of that.
Totally. That's why I don't make any prints of my work. No prints, because the aliveness is in the original one. And especially in the collages, you're right. I mean, they're so rich to me. I had sold a couple to someone, and she sent them back to me because she expected them to be flat and smooth, like a poster. And it was like, no, this is a collage. It is bumpy. That's the way collages are. But she didn't realize that, and I didn't think I needed to clarify that. So I learned an expensive lesson.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's perhaps she didn't understand what a collage truly is. That's really what it kind of
Yeah.
sounds.
Well, some
Mhm.
people, I mean, I think there are people who do ones just with photographs, like from magazines, where it can be all smooth and flat, but
Mm.
mine are not.
I'd like to say, being one of Marla's fortunate students, not only she's a wonderful artist, she's an amazing teacher.
Thank
So-
you.
And I mean that. I have been so motivated and inspired attending her classes. It's been awesome. And I'm sitting here doodling my kitten while she's talking.
Oh, so cute. From a photograph or from life?
Just her sitting here.
She's
Yeah.
posing. How great. Well,
Yeah.
anyone who wants to join us, on Tuesdays we do Baba, but then on Thursdays I have another class where we do collages, we do imaginary things, we do anything you want that I know how to do. And that's not through the Baba website. That's through, you have to email me, gratitudemarla@gmail.com, or you can contact me through my website on the last page of the website, marlafaith.com. You can find me there too. But that one we do on Thursdays from 4 to 5:30 Eastern time. And it's a small group of lovely women, and they're all my good friends now.